Very long time, because even though on the surface things like, say, for example, contracts for shipments of oil and gas can be resumed, hey, fine. Nord Stream pipe can start being loaded again, and so forth. Hey, all of that is possible, and it probably will happen out of the necessity, because despite all of the brave rhetoric from the European Union, there's absolutely no way European Union can wean itself off dependency on hydrocarbons, and they are global markets for them. So it doesn't matter whether it's Russian hydrocarbons or it is coming from Qatar. It doesn't matter really in the end. So there's a lot of those things, those necessity things like commodity markets and things like that will get restored. Companies will go back to doing business in Russia, but they will always be cautious in terms of investing there. They will always be cautious in terms of domiciling assets there. For example, doing longer term projects there, such as, for example, R&D and so forth. The companies will always be wary that all of the contracts that are being signed are subject to the potential very quick reversal under the sanctions, that those sanctions are not only can be kind of targeting, as they were post 2014, individuals, but they can actually be really, if you want, strategic weapons like, at a very high scale, deployable across the entire economy, so the entire supply chains can be destroyed by those sanctions instantaneously. So that is going to take a long, long time to repair, and I'm not so sure there is a capability in Russia today, in Russian politics today, to even start that process of repair. Nor do I think there is a capability in the West to do so, because don't forget, it takes two to tango, yes? So it takes the Russians to take a very accommodative stance towards both restoring the commercial and other relations and rebuilding or building trust, but it also requires the West to actually open up the space for Russians. And what's interesting about that is when you go back to 2014 sanctions, as benign with the hindsight of today as they were, there was never in any of these sanctions a clear strategy for exit. There was never saying sanctions are imposed in response to events A, they will last until you take action B. Once action B is taken and it's verified through the process C, we will remove the sanctions. It was never like that. They were just imposed and done, okay? So from the point of view of Moscow, there was never actually a clear list of things that it needs to comply with, even if it wanted to, which is a big if, beyond any doubts. Even if it wanted to comply with, that it could comply with and then achieve this normalization and so forth. So in a way, there are, as I mentioned before, there are winners in this process. And certainly they are not Russian people. I don't think they are Ukrainian people either, because I'm afraid that what's going to happen is once the hostilities are over, once the hot war is over, Ukraine is going to be forgotten by Europe. It's not going to be integrated into European realm, economic and social and political realm, to the extent that it actually deserves to be. And in fact, actually, I've been saying that, on Twitter as well, and I've been saying it in other media interviews, that it's crucially important for us to make sure that Ukraine gets reconstruction support, not just money, but also support, access to the markets, access to technologies, access to education, access to training, all of that, okay? At scale that is necessary in order to get the country of 40 plus million people to scale up in terms of its economic development and also social and political, of course, development, because those two are not going to happen without